So I'll be going over the organizational design and structure and change of the National Basketball Association. To introduce a little more background on the association, the NBA is one of the most powerful and largest sports leagues in the world as it generated billions of dollars, about 10 billion annually. The league started in 1946 and has only grown since then, with now having about 30 teams. And although they've had much success, many question some of their long-term goals as far as their quality of management and their social responsibility to the community. And we'll delve further into more about the association and their issues as we continue the presentation. As we learn, there are 8 major fortune dimensions that companies may struggle with, including innovativeness, quality of management, long-term investment value, social responsibility to the community and environment, people management, quality of products and services, financial soundness, and wise use of corporate assets. So, 2 of the major issues the NBA has been under scrutiny for is their social responsibility to the community and issues with quality management. So, many would believe that they have had ethical inconsistencies, and they also were very limited in their transparency on progress and sustainability in the league. And as far as managing quality goes, they've had many reactive leadership moments in crisis, and they've also had poor strategic communication with stakeholders. The NBA tends to advocate for equality and environmental awareness, but it has not always implemented strong sustainability, whereas other leagues like the NFL and MLB had developed more structure in that case. So the NBA seems to have a little inconsistency between their stated values and their actual practices, which is very important as we learn. In recent years, the league has faced controversy around players who have not spoken out on certain issues, where the league encourages players to be more vocal about issues globally, not just in the United States. So poor management is really an important issue that for a successful organization, it needs to completely be avoided. Ineffective leaders can destroy the trust between players, owners, and fans, and the mismanagement in handling public crisis and private crisis as well can truly cause the league to spiral out of control. Also, if you fail to live up to the environmental promises and the social promises of the league, then you kind of can jeopardize sponsorships from brands and TV opportunities as well, which the players and the management all use to help make ends meet. In long term, the inaction could really result in a lot of financial delay and setbacks financially, and also a weakened public image, which the league cannot afford. The structure and the culture of the NBA is very unique, as it's run by one central commissioner named Adam Silver, who has power over the league. He has control over many of the rules. However, individual owners of each team also have their own saying, their own ability to create law, create order within their franchise. This can cause a little bit of inconsistency, however, as some owners have different cultures, different philosophies from owners of other teams, and the league needs a more transparent and consistent governance, which would allow not only the teams to be on the same page, the players to be on the same page, but along with the management, and Adam Silver would be able to run a more structured and organized league. The league has shown some aspects of conscious capitalism, like investing in the community outreach and supporting diversity initiatives, but they sometimes struggle in supporting diversity globally and staying consistent in their values. The conscious management involves aligning their purposes, the profits, and people, which ensures decisions that will benefit all the stakeholders. The NBA has been praised for empowering players to speak up, but they often face criticism for being inconsistent in applying certain ethical standards to certain groups and certain players, whereas not doing the same for others. So implementing a more conscious management where it's consistent and there's not many discrepancy will allow the league to grow and develop and become more balanced in this way. And it'll allow all strength holders to have more trust in each other, and overall, it'll really enhance the resilience of the league. Cotter's 8-step change model is one that is really effective in helping guide change, and we'll continue to break that one down. But the NBA could really use it to reform their management and the systems, and it will help create pathways for ethical alignment and sustainable growth throughout the league. So the first 4 steps of Cotter's philosophy is to create urgency, form coalition, develop vision, and communicate the vision. So the NBA needs to start by establishing a sense of urgency among all the executives, the franchises, the leaders, and that'll really highlight showing the trust in the league and management, and it'll increase demand for ethical business practices. The next step for them would be building a coalition that includes like all the players, the executives, all people who hold high positions in the league, and this group would serve as a change driving force. And then the NBA would then be able to develop a clear vision statement, and that vision would link with the management reform, and it'd help to not just push basketball in the United States but also in global. Once that vision is developed, then you can finally communicate with each other, which is extremely important. So the next 4 steps in Cotter's approach are empowering local initiatives, generating short-term wins, building on change, and anchoring the change in culture. And to begin, like empowering franchises to take on local environments and social initiatives like youth development programs and renewable energy partners that will really encourage initiative between the owners and the teams. Then we can then generate short-term wins where they could publish transparent annual sustainability or annual goals that the league wants to accomplish, and hitting these marks would be short-term wins for the league. The next step would be building on the change, which means that they would want to create new reform into the league's policy. For example, executive performers could have certain metrics they want to hit, and this could be publicly posted for not just the players but also management to be aware of. And then finally, you anchor the change in culture. And when you link the promotion and the monetary that's behind all of these values, the NBA will assure that the quality of management and responsibility becomes the expectation and the standard rather than just an initiative. So once this becomes long term in the NBA's policy, then it will understand that they're very serious about this initiative and it'll be ingrained in the culture. So we know reform is not an easy thing and it won't come without resistance. So the initial pushback will be from like owners and executives who are used to having full control and may not want to be pushed around. But at the end of the day, to push for advancement, then there does need to be change. There does need to be pushback between owners, players, and to overcome the resistance, the NBA will really need to emphasize being transparent and having continuous communication between all members. And for the change to be effective, the NBA is going to need to look internally to their subsystems, and they're going to need to align with their vision. So leadership training, decision making, and reward systems would all be reinforced, used to reinforce transparency and responsibility. The league should also establish sustainability and partnerships and strengthen their collabs with all of their foundations and local communities to help that the vision will be seen as on a social level, and it'll have a lot more social impact. Overall, an important lesson I learned is that profit cannot compensate for weak ethics or leadership. If the leadership is not up to par and the ethics of a company are not rooted and strongly rooted in their values, then it will crash regardless of profit and what they're able to accomplish. As a future leader, I learned that it's just really important to be consistent between your mission and your behavior. They should align, and you should also be proactive in involving all stakeholders. And the NBA can help restore its credibility and position itself as long as on a global level they continue to be transparent and responsible.